Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tilly and today I'm going to be filming my March TBR. So this video is going to have a similar structure to my last TBR video. I may have mentioned that I have some ideas for a TBR game, but I'm still kind of figuring things out behind the scenes, so this will just be a normal TBR video this month. So it will be a very similar structure to last month, where I talked through the books that I'm reading as part of read-alongs, and then we went through any readathons I'm also doing during that month. So we'll start with the books I actually intend on reading. So the first book I don't actually own physically yet, and that is Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab, and I'm going to be reading this as part of Schwabalong. I haven't filmed my February wrap-up video yet, but spoilers, I absolutely loved this Savage song. I'm going to talk about it more in my February wrap-up, but I'm so excited to read Our Dark Duet and finish off the duology. As it is the second book and last book in a series, there isn't much that I can really tell you about Our Dark Duet, but this Savage song followed August and Violet, two, I think they're children or teenagers, in this dystopian world where there are three types of monsters and August and Violet are both on opposing sides. However, they are brought together as part of this series, and it just kind of follows how that relationship dynamic unfolds throughout the rest of the series. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how it kind of all ends and where we go from the ending of this Savage song. The next one I also don't have a physical copy to show you because this one is on my Kindle, and that is The Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare, which is the third book in the Dark Artifices series. And I'm going to be reading this alongside everyone else that is doing ByTheAngelAlong. I didn't love Lord of Shadows, so I'm hoping Queen of Air and Darkness is more like Lady Midnight than Lord of Shadows, and it is technically a reread, although like I probably said for Lord of Shadows and Lady Midnight, I don't really remember too much about this series because it was a long time ago that I did read it. And then the last book I tend to read as part of a read-along is The Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. This is the fourth book in the Percy Jackson series. I've been absolutely loving the series. I'm very glad that The Titan's Curse was much better than Sea of Monsters. I'm also very glad that we're past the point of the films, so I don't know what happens. I'm really enjoying Rick Riordan's writing style. It's so funny and I love all of the Greek mythology references. We are getting closer to the end of the series, so it'll be interesting to see how things build up. Is there going to be like a big battle? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this. Again, sorry, this one's a fourth book in a series, so again, quite difficult for me to talk to you about what it's about. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard of Percy Jackson. So basically he finds out that he is the son of Poseidon. He gets sent to a summer camp with other half-bloods, so the descendants of Greek gods, and he and his friends go on lots of adventures, and there is obviously a villain of this series, but I'm not going to go into it too much because of spoilers. So the next three books on the list for March are part of a trilogy, and that is the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. I haven't yet watched the Netflix show as I wanted to read the series before I watched it, and I'm conscious that season 2 comes out in March, so I'd love to read this series, catch up on season 1 before season 2 airs so that I'm well prepared to watch it. I would quite like to vlog my experience of reading these and maybe catching up on season 1, so please let me know in the comments if that is something you would like to see. I don't actually know too much about this series. I have read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdoms, so I think I do know some spoilers for this series unfortunately, but yeah, let's have a little read of the blurb and find out what this one's about. Soldier, Summoner, Saint. Alina Starkov is a soldier. When her regiment is attacked whilst crossing the Shadowfold, a swath of unnatural darkness crawling with monsters, Alina unleashes dormant magic not even she knew she possessed. Now Alina will enter a lavish world of royalty and intrigue as she trains with the Grisha, her country's magical military elite, and falls under the spell of the notorious leader, the Darkling. He believes Alina can summon a force capable of destroying the Shadowfold and reuniting their war-ravaged country, but only if she can master her untamed gift. But as Alina unlocks the secrets of her past, she will also make a dangerous discovery that could threaten all she loves and the very future of a nation. So yeah, it's definitely giving me quite standard YA vibes, but I know this is a well-loved series, so I'm really intrigued and interested to give this one a go. In terms of NetGalley arcs, I'm not too sure if I'm going to get to the Adventures of Emilia Al-Sarafi in February, so if I don't, that will fall into March's TBR. I believe it comes out around the 2nd of March, so if I can read it before then, I will be really happy. So that one is very much on the priority list list for March. I talked about it a little bit in my February TBR. I don't really know too much about it other than it's kind of pirates and it's this first book of a series and it just looks really fun, so I'm really excited to give that one a read as well. I've been desperate to read the next book, but I've been holding off until I got my special Illumicrate edition, and that is the Loathe to Love You series by Ali Hazelwood. So if you didn't know, this is a bind up of 3 novellas written by Ali Hazelwood, and they all follow women in STEM, but they are all also romances. So in terms of the synopsis for this one, it says it's a collection of steamy STEMinist novellas. Mara, Sadie and Hannah are friends first, scientists always. Though their fields of study might take them to different corners of the world, they can all agree on this universal truth. When it comes to love and science, opposites attract and rivals make you burn. An environmental engineer discovers that scientists should never cohabitate when she finds herself stuck with the roommate from hell, a detestable big oil lawyer who won't leave the thermostat alone. And then the second one is called Stuck With You. A civil engineer and her nemesis take their rivalry and love to the next level when they get stuck in a New York elevator. And then the third is called Below Zero. A NASA aerospace engineer's frozen heart melts as she lies injured and stranded at a remote Arctic research station, and the only person willing to undertake the dangerous rescue mission is her longtime rival. Yeah, so these all kind of sound very enemies to lovers. I have really enjoyed Ali Hazelwood's books in the past. I did prefer The Love Hypothesis over Love in the Brain. These novellas do sound a little bit similar as well, but I do still think it's going to be a good time and an enjoyable read, so I'm really excited to give this a read this month. Then we have Heartstopper Volume 3, which I've been desperate to read, but I've been kind of saving it for a readathon. So this one is going to be part of a readathon, so I will go through what prompt it's filling at the end of the video. As I said, this is volume 3, so the third in a series. However, the first volume of Heartstopper follows Nick and Charlie, 2 boys, and their journey in regards to falling in love. It's such a heartwarming, lovely series, but it also tackles some really deep subjects with just so much sensitivity, and Alice Osman's writing is just fantastic. So if you haven't read this series, I highly recommend you do. This is another one I'm not sure I'm going to get to before the end of February. So this one might also drop within my March TBR, and that is A Portrait of a Thief by Grace DeLee. I'm not going to go into this one too much as I did talk about it in my February TBR. I will leave a link to that down below if you are interested in finding out a little bit more about this book. The next one is one that's on my 23 in 2023 list, and that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. In fact, I forgot to mention that the Shadow and Bone series is also on my 23 in 2023 list as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to be crossing off a few books on that list during the month of March. So in terms of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I've heard so many great things about this series and I'm just so excited to give it a go. In terms of the blurb for this one, if you weren't sure, the case is closed. 5 years ago, schoolgirl Andy Bell was murdered by Sal Singh. The police know he did it, everyone in town knows he did it, but having grown up in the same small town that was consumed by the murder, Pippa Fitzamobi isn't so sure. When she chooses the case as the topic for her final year project, she starts to uncover secrets that someone in town desperately wants to stay hidden. And if the real killer is still out there, how far will they go to keep Pip from the truth? So yes, very intriguing. Definitely going to have a lot of twists and turns, and I'm just so excited to give this one a read. I think it's going to probably be quite a quick read, I would have thought, and that will probably be very welcome. So yes, very excited to read this one. And then the last book on the list is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. And again, I'd heard so many great things about this, so I'm really excited to give this one a read. The synopsis for this one: Amari Peters knows 3 things. Her brother Quentin has gone missing, no one will talk about it, his mysterious job holds a clue. So when she's invited for a trial at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, Amari is certain this is her chance to save him. But first, she has to get her head around the new world of the Bureau, where mermaids, aliens and magicians are real and her roommate is a were-dragon. Amari must compete for a stop against kids who've known this world their whole lives, and with an evil magician threatening the whole supernatural world, Amari has never felt more alone. But if she doesn't pass the 3 tryouts, she may never find out what happened to Quentin. To save her brother, Amari is going to have to fight harder for this than she ever has before. This one sounds like so much fun, maybe a bit of a light relief. I've said with pretty much all of these, I am just really excited to give this one a read finally. So in terms of readathons this month, I will of course be continuing Gerbitathon, which is the sim Sims readathon that was designed by Ladder M. So provided I can read A Portrait of the Thief, which will finish out my toddler prompts, that will mean I can age up into a child. And then so in order to age up from a child, I need to complete 5 needs, 1 skill and 5 wants. So the prompts for the 5 needs, so the mandatory needs this month is fun and social. So for the fun prompt, that is to read a book that has a magic school. So I'm going to count Amari and the Night Brothers with the Bureau. The prompt for the social need is hobbies. So I'm going to count A Good Girl's Guide to Murder within that prompt, as I guess you could say solving murders is her hobby. Then we've got the hunger need, which is to read a book with witches in. So I'm thinking I can kind of count Shadow and Bone because it kind of has magic, and I don't know if you could class it as witchcraft. Maybe Amari and the Night Brothers you could count here. If any of these books fit these prompts, by the way, please let me know in the comments if I'm missing anything, because likelihood is I probably am. Then we've got the comfort book, which is to read a book with bullying. So for this, I'm kind of thinking Shadow or Bone. Again, I don't really know too much about it, but I think there's some conflict between Alina and the Darkling, which is probably maybe bullying, I don't know. Or maybe one of the novellas in the Loath to Love You series might count as bullying. Then we have the bladder need, which is to read a book that is a cozy mystery. So for that, I'm going to count A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So those are all our needs. In terms of skills, there's either the body skill, which is to read a book, which I'm going to count A Queen of Air and Darkness because it is pretty chunky. I can't remember exactly how many pages it is, but I can remember it being a lot. And the cleaning skill is to read a TBR vet, which I could also count A Queen of Air and Darkness because that has been on my TBR for a very, very long time. Then in terms of wants, and as I said, I need to complete 5 of these. So we've got the next in the series, so I'm going to count the Battle of the Labyrinth. I mean, there's lots of books this month which could count towards that prompt. Then we have buddy read. Again, lots of books I'm reading this month that could fit within that prompt. So for example, Our Dark Duet, The Battle of the Labyrinth, A Queen of Air and Darkness, so many that will fit that prompt. Then we have ebook or audio. So as I said, I'm probably going to be reading The Queen of Air and Darkness on my Kindle, as well as I will probably be reading Our Dark Duet on my Kindle. Then we have middle grade. So I'm reading 2 middle grades this month. So I'm reading Amari and the Night Brothers as well as The Battle of the Labyrinth. And then the last prompt I'm going to be fulfilling for Gerbitathon is something sweet. So I'm going to count Loath to Love You within that prompt. So during March, I'm also going to be participating in Marvelathon, which is the Marvel readathon designed by Lisa Does Life. I've said many times on this channel that I am a massive Marvel fan, so it was an absolute no-brainer that I wanted to get involved in this readathon. So I have decided to join Team Next Gen. So if you didn't know, the way that Lisa has done it this year, she split it out into Team OG and Team Next Gen. And so because I'm Team Next Gen, I have particular prompts where I can get 100 points, but I can also do prompts for Team OG and then get 50 points. Lisa definitely explains it way better than I am now, so I'm going to leave her video where she explains everything down below. The first prompt is Scarlet Witch, and that is alternative reality. So there are a few books that I'm reading that I could count towards this prompt. However, I've picked Our Dark Duet as it's based in a dystopian America. Then we have A Book with a Battle, and for this I'm choosing The Battle of the Labyrinth, which judging by the title I would assume is going to have some sort of battle. Also, A Queen of Air and Darkness being the 3rd book in a Cassandra Clare trilogy is probably bound to have a battle in it as well. Then we have the Groot prompt, which is to read a book that has a tree or wood on the cover. Now I am being a little bit generous with myself with this prompt, so I'm actually going to use Heartstopper Volume 3 for this prompt because of course it has the iconic Heartstopper leaves. Leaves are on a tree, so that's kind of where I'm going with that one. Then we have Moon Knight, which is mental health rat. So for that one I'm also going to class Heartstopper because I'm pretty sure Heartstopper has some fantastic mental health representation. When I had a look at the trigger warnings, it said that Volume 3 has some mental health representation, but Volume 4 has a lot of mental health representation. So if I can get to Volume 4 as well, that would be amazing, but I think I can still count Volume 3. Then we have Ant-Man, which is to read a funny book. So for that I'm going to count Loath to Love You because Aline Hazelwood's books tend to have comedic elements, although I could probably also count The Battle of the Labyrinth as Rick Riordan also uses comedic elements in his books, especially those fantastic chapter titles. And then that moves me on to the prompts for Team OG. So as I said, I can get 50 points for these ones. So the first prompt is to read read a dark book. So for that one, I'm going to count our dark duet. I'm guessing it's dark because it has dark in the title. Then we have a book with opposites. I'm going to count Loathe to Love You, and particularly Under One Roof, because it does sound like they are opposites. Then we have strong family themes. Name me a stronger family than the Blackthorn family in the Dark Devices trilogy. If you've read the series, you'll know that they're the most amazing family that will do anything for each other. So it was a no-brainer to class that with that prompt. So there you have it, all of the books that I intend to read during the month of March. I don't know if I'll get to them all, but we're gonna think positively and hopefully I will get to a fair amount of these. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Thanks for watching, bye guys.